So we heard the phrase deep tech several times today. We're going to go into an example now of how deep tech is driving the mobility agenda. And chairing this session is Bart Becks, the chair of EURACTIV, also the member of eHealth Valley and an EIC board member. We have Svilen Rangelov, the CEO of Dronamics. Thank you, Svilen, and Charlotte Norland Matthijssen, who's the cabinet member for DG Transport. The floor is yours, Bart.
Thank you. Hi. It's a bit of a strange setting. We'll try to look a bit everywhere. If somebody feels that they're overlooked, wave a bit, and we'll try to look your way. What we'll try to do is give a bit of a view on drone strategy. A lot of things happened, but I would like to start with giving the floor to our entrepreneur, Svilen. He's the founder of Dronamics, and it would be great if you could maybe quickly explain the company and what you're doing.
Sure. It's great to be here. Thank you, everyone. My name is Svilen. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Dronamics. We're a company started 8.5 years ago when my brother, who's an aerospace engineer, and I decided to actually solve the middle mile with cargo drones. And unlike most drones that you guys can probably imagine, which would be the small vertical takeoff ones, we're actually building an airplane that is 16 meters long wingspan with 8 meters long body that can carry 350 kilograms at a distance of up to 2,500 kilometers. So essentially imagine what you can fit in a small car. We can take it from here all the way to Greece. We can do that in the same day in a very cost-efficient manner, and also saving a lot of emissions on the environment and saving you a lot of time. So that's the idea. We've grown from 2 people in a PowerPoint to a company of 170 all over the world. We are originally from Bulgaria, and we're very happy to be part of the EIC Accelerator on both the grant and the funding equity components.
So, in terms of width, it's approximately it's larger than the stage, basically.
Yeah, it's about the stage size. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Charlotte, great to be with us. Last week there was quite an important document that was approved.
Absolutely.
The version 2 of the drone strategy for Europe. Since it's quite new in terms of regulatory framework, even globally, could you explain us a bit what it means and some of the highlights on that?
Yes, of course. So indeed, it was on the 29th November, we presented this new drones 2.0 strategy. But so basically, the idea with this strategy is really to fill this gap that is missing today to support drones like Dronamics. And because what we see from the Commission side is really that drones has this huge potential to provide valuable services, but also new types of services, both to citizens, businesses, but also to authorities in cities notably. And so we already had some rules in place since 2015, but now we're working on those to build further on those to allow for even more operations. And so that's also why today already you see drones in operation, but these are more smaller drones, more looking at mapping or surveillance for some elements. But so for these larger drones that you're talking about, so the cargo-carrying drones or even the passenger-carrying drones that are expected to be ready for the 2024 Olympics in Paris, they will need a more solid regulatory framework, basically. And this is really the main objective of the strategy. And so this strategy puts in place 19 different operational, technical, and financial flagship actions that will help this framework to come in place and really make this ecosystem thrive.
And if I may, just for the audience and those of you who are not very familiar with drones, I think this drone strategy is just another testament of how Europe can and is a regulatory leader in a particular field. Because unlike regular aviation, where we fly all over the world and the rules are all the same everywhere, with drones it's not like that, except in Europe. And Europe has actually taken the lead, and there's the EC regulations since 2 years now. We actually happen to be the first licensed cargo drone airline in Europe and the world, and we can actually start commercial service in a few months, and that's quite exciting. Whereas a lot of other markets, they're actually looking for Europe for guidance on how they can implement drones into their field. So I think I see this as a very encouraging sign that the EU hasn't stopped there just with the regulation, but now with the full-blown strategy, basically putting a stake in the ground that by 2030 this will be, a daily life for everyone.
When you looked at the new drone strategy, were there elements in it where specifically said, well, wow, as a starting company, that really helps us to position us as a leader?
Yes. As a whole, though, the comprehensiveness of all the packages and all the aspects was the key, because it really showed that they had really listened to the market. To arrive to that strategy, there was a consultation period, and all the stakeholders were able to participate in that. But really, it's and it's called 2.0 for a reason, right? It's an evolution, and it's a really strong signal to the industry and to the outside world that this is happening, and Europe is at the forefront.
And I think actually also the strategy is a joint effort. The creation of the strategy 2.0 was a real joint effort with all the different stakeholders and the air services authorities and service providers and the civil aviation, everyone. And so as much as the strategy was a joint effort, making it happen now will be as much also a joint effort.
And just because, again, when we started in 2014, there were no rules, so we started without a team, without capital, without supply chain, without even legality. So a big question mark always for the private investors was, okay, yes, but when will it be certified? When can you actually start operating? So by the fact that Europe has taken this lead and has taken regulatory risk off the table, it's really unleashing, the floodgates for a whole wave of innovation to happen. So that's quite exciting.
Interesting. Yeah. Let's go over there because we'll never see anyone. So put your phones away.
We're coming to you.
Another one is, of course, a key objective that we're all working on is climate ambitions, right? And one of the points is how can drones help to decrease CO2 emissions? That's clearly also part of the plan. Could you elaborate a bit on that?
Yes, of course. Well, maybe to contextualize already, this drone strategy was already part of our sustainable and smart mobility strategy that was presented by the end of 2019. And so this whole strategy really aims to put our whole transport system on track for the future towards 2050. And so, of course, this requires more digital, more sustainability, and drones is a big part of this. Now, specifically for the climate objectives, somehow drones are an innovation lab by themselves. So because drones are developing, and you will be the proof of that, innovative and low-carbon propulsion systems based on either electricity, sustainable aviation fuels, or hydrogen. It's your choices. And so somehow drones will bring this fresh air to the airspace and the transport market with a clean alternative and take off probably maybe cars on the road. Yeah. And so in a way you can say that by with this opportunity, comes also in
yeah. How important is sustainability in your model and approach?
Very. And when we decided what to do, the middle mile drone, we realized we're in a segment where we need to ensure connectivity over long distances. And battery technology was not, and sadly still is not there. We come from Bulgaria, and when we were raised in the 90s, we shared what was a fairly common chat with most of Eastern Europe. But the point is that some of those transitions and some of those changes didn't happen as quickly as we would have liked them. And that's kind of stayed with us. We noticed that when you're on the periphery, everything takes longer, everything costs more, and so on. There's this added tax. We wanted to solve that in a more realistic way. So we said, okay, why don't we, if we're targeting the cargo market, which is very, very cost-driven, then that by itself drives you to achieve efficiencies as much as possible. So that's the reason why we didn't just put an autopilot on an existing airplane. We decided to design the airplane from the ground up specifically for that one mission that it's going to do, to carry parcels. And because of that, we were able to actually achieve 60% lower emissions, 80% less time, and more than 50% cost savings, even if we use a fossil fuel, because that's what the engines that exist right now that are certified can do. However, we have a phased approach. So we are working the engine that we use was demonstrated to be able to run on synthetic fuel, so 100% synthetic fuel. And we're also working with Cranfield University on a hydrogen solution. So we want to start serving customers now so that we can already bring the emission benefit to them. But as the technology can get to the mass market, we can implement the new propulsion systems to get to full net zero. So that's the approach we've taken.
Okay, great.
And Bart, actually, one side of it is the emission specifically reductions, but another side of it is this reduction of congestion, which is a huge issue in urban areas and also cross-regional areas. And I think with introducing this new means of transport, well, you alleviate the pressure that is on our roads, and will reduce emissions also that way.
If you think about it, until very recently, in order to move atoms, you also needed to move humans, whether it was in a car, in a plane, in a boat, in something. What drones and autonomous vehicles and all this new technology allows you is just to tell the atoms where they need to move and have them move themselves, which means that you can break away from these hub and spokes systems that make your packages be centralized into these huge networks and actually travel, up to 5 times more the distance that they should otherwise. Because if you can fractionalize it and make it into smaller units, smaller blocks, you can actually send it directly to that smaller village, directly to that smaller town, directly to that island, and have a shorter journey that's faster, cheaper, and cleaner for the environment. So.
And I even have another point. It's that somehow these new technologies that are being researched and looked into through drones is also a catalyst for innovating in the more traditional aviation sectors. So they will use and take up what is now being developed in the drone sector to apply it to their more traditional sector.
Yeah. If we think of application and usage of drones in cities specifically. You mentioned Paris and urban mobility. What are other kind of areas of usage in cities that you think of?
So I think the use cases are only increasing, and the way we can think of by the day. But some of them, as we mentioned, is to help, of course, authorities to bring out emergency to hospitals and to transport goods. You have, of course, the last mile deliveries also for what do you call it? For consumers that are ordering things, so clean last mile deliveries. There's also the air taxi services, and then in general, drones can be used to support cities in terms of city planning. So by using drones as a mapping tool, for example, or monitoring, cities authorities can better understand where, let's say, the bottlenecks in the city might be, and to try and rethink urban planning and mobility thanks to the visibility, let's say, exactly that bird eye that the drone can provide.
Yeah. From our point of view, cities are definitely interesting, but we've chosen to focus on connecting different cities, connecting different towns. My background is in economics, and there's a lot of economic research that shows how there's the number one thing, best thing that the country can do, better than any economic or political policy that they can enact, is just to improve their supply chain and their connectivity. And it makes so much sense. If you can't have enough blood reaching as efficiently to some of your organs, they'll start failing. And we see this huge move to mass urbanization in these mega centers and so on. That's kind of, in order to go into the other direction, COVID had an impact on all the knowledge workers, again, on all that part of the talent. If we can find a way that we can actually move and improve the supply chains to these places that have been traditionally underserved, you will actually improve the connectivity, you will improve the economy better than lowering taxes, removing tariffs, privatizing, or any of the usual playbooks. So that's why we focused on that area, because it's a lot more exciting for us in particular.
I think there's also another perspective on things when it comes to cities. It's that cities not only have these use cases where drones can be applied to them, but they are important actors in defining the drone strategy as well, and implementing, let's say, the drone strategy. And we need them and to be part of defining what measures and to put in place these measures at local and regional level, because there's a difference between, let's say, the European level of rules and regulations and standards, and then the local levels where they decide on is exactly where they can operate, when they can operate, or other types of measures, for example, for visual and noise regulations. So this is up for cities also to decide on. And so we count also on cities there to let's say, help. And this was also, of course, increased trust, because there's a big trust element from the citizens that is important. Well, to support cities, we have set up an online platform, a new online platform that will help cities to implement, and stakeholders as well, this strategy.
Talking about trust, and we now talked about a lot of the possibilities and the use cases, but one of the elements often addressed is how about security, right? Because we talk about the positive usage of drones and how it can help in a lot of things, but there's also potential malicious use of drones. How should that be handled, or how can we control that?
Well, absolutely, always safety is number one in aviation. In our model, we emulate a lot of the existing airline model. So we have an airplane-looking drone taking off from an airfield, so a controlled environment. We fly in controlled airspace. We have all the redundancies that are necessary, that are just like on other aircraft. The only difference is that we don't move humans together with the vehicle. And so we spend a lot of time on that, ensuring that the connectivity is robust enough and the security is fine. But again, that's where the regulatory framework that the EU actually mandated helps with that, because it's part of the requirements, and that's how we were able to demonstrate compliance and to get the license. So it is achievable. Of course, it's an ever-evolving cat and mouse game, but security, without security, it cannot work, for sure.
And this is exactly where the EASA, so the European Aviation Safety Agency, comes in and already has clear rules for drones operations in place in terms of safety and security. But of course, building on that, the drone strategy has also announced further that we're going to have this European Trusted Drone label. And this label is there to, let's say, to show to the world and to the citizens a lot what in the end is what the European values is about: environmental safety, data protection, societal concerns. So we're building this label to make sure that we have this, let's say, overall safety environment for drones.
Yeah. In a couple of months, beginning of next year, you'll start the formal launch, right?
Yeah.
That's It's going to be a happy moment, but somebody's going to be a bit surprised, probably your 3-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
You told me the story, but maybe it's great to share it.
Yeah, so when we received our first funding, it was back in 2014. My brother, engineers can have a sense of humor, and he said he's not going to shave until we are ready with the airplane, until the airplane lands successfully. And so we haven't shaved since September 2014, just because we had to design a completely new aircraft from the ground up. It's a very long design cycle. And yeah, I mean, my daughter has never seen me without a beard, so it will be quite an experience for her.
Okay, we're going to wrap up. You got an EIC grant. Could you explain a bit on the amount and how it helped you and how you were able to invest that? And what's your view on the EIC support you had in general?
So we've been working on this quite a bit, but the new aircraft program takes years and there's a lot of risk. So the grant really makes a difference to get us to the last mile. And so we were the recipients of the maximum, the 2.5 million grant. And as well, because we are recipients of the blended finance package up to 12.5 million in equity financing at the next equity round that we will do later in 2023. So this is quite exciting. I find this as really, a step in absolutely the right direction for the EU to be able to build this portfolio of startups, because you see a lot of other regions, a lot of other countries take they have sovereign wealth funds. They do care about the diversification. They do care about the the next generation of technology. Where how are they where are the pensions for our generation going to come from? And a lot of it is going to be from these new technologies, from these innovations. That you're being so strong on R&D. It's the right place to be.
And from, let's say, the transport policy perspective of things, being able to make that bridge between the breakthrough technologies such as drones and our policy goals is exactly what we need to do to make sure that we reach our targets, like, for example, the climate targets. Because if you want to reduce transport emissions by 90% towards 2050, then we need the breakthrough technologies. Otherwise, we won't be able to make it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, we're going to wrap up here. Charlotte, I want to thank you also for being here a bit last minute to fill in. It's really appreciated.
The Commissioner really apologizes also for that.
Fantastic. And Svilen, congratulations with what you're doing. Good luck with the launch. And if we look a bit at the cyclical move where we are with EIC, we're trying to support a lot of deep tech-based innovations. And I believe in complex situations like now where the tech market has difficulty. That's where public policy and public funding can counterbalance and do even better, because it's exactly innovations and like yours that we need to support and grow them into fantastic companies and support great entrepreneurs. So thanks a lot for that as well. And thanks everyone for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.
Congratulations. You caught a bit of time up there as well, and I'm not going to misuse it. I'd just like to say that obviously we were talking there about civilians getting rid of regulatory risk and all the financing which is now flowing into that particular sector. That's the topic of our next session, financing deep tech innovation. And we're going to start here in just over 20 minutes' time. So have a good break, and we'll see you here in 20 minutes. Thank you.